everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you for a lot of things this morning. I am filled with joy this morning as we begin. It is joyful for a number of reasons. As you mentioned, I have written a children's book called My Grandma is a Witch, A Tale of Religious Acceptance. And I'm going to speak to that in a bit. But one of the things that was most joyful to me this morning is to be able to have conversation with my father and my beloved husband and realize that it has been 58 years since my father has been in a church. Ooh. And my husband has not been in a church since 1971. So not only do you have the opportunity to, or do we have the opportunity to be a church or a witch at the pulpit, my beloved sacred masculine are here in support of the feminine principle that I feel I represent. So I'm going to watch my time here. My grandma is a witch. While playing in the bookstore with my grandma one nice day, two ladies squealed and pointed and they whisked their kids away. "Your grandma is a witch," they said. "I can't believe it's true." My grandma smiled, said not a word. "I don't know what to do. The witches in my storybooks are wicked and they're mean. They cackle when they stir their pots. They're wrinkled and they're green. They gobble little children up. They ride a magic broom. They cast a spell to get their wish. Across stormy skies they zoom." My head was really spinning with all these scary thoughts. I searched my brain to try to think what she cooks in her pots. This little book was written inspired by a conversation I actually had with my grandson, who at the time was about 5 years old. And I had, before I left traditional religion and gone on my own spiritual path, I had raised my sons to be Catholic. And my grandson's father is practicing Catholic in their family tradition. And so it was very apparent to me that at some point in time I would need to have a conversation with my grandson about what was true and what was not true about witches. And in reality, as the book became, as it came into fruition, I realized that what was at the core of my message really was this: how do we come to a place where we are truly in acceptance about the diversity that we all represent? And so today, when I speak of My Grandma is a Witch, A Tale of Religious Acceptance, in truth, I could be saying my grandma is a spiritualist. My grandma is a Muslim. My grandma is a Jew. My grandma is an energy worker. My grandma is an atheist. In any of these others, there is something that has created separation. And my message through my book and through really my life work is about reconciling those perceived opposites. And my real points today that I would like to share with you are how we get to that place where we truly can reconcile those opposites. I suggest to you, as I have learned myself, and I say this and everything that I share from this point forward, prefaced by this, what I share is what's absolutely true for me. But I also know that what is my truth, once I've formed it in my heart and it passes my throat and it's out here shared with you, it's really all about perception. And so what I'm sharing is the truth of my experience as a woman, as a priestess, as a grandmother, as a witch. But know that it is not my intention to project anything upon anyone here. So if what I share with you from this point forward is anything that you resonate with, please wrap it up and take it home with you. But if you don't resonate or are not comfortable with anything that I share, please know that you can just leave it on the ground. And at the end of the service, I will, with my imaginary magical broom, just sweep it out the door and take it home with me. In order to come to this place of acceptance, there's a formula that really is as simple as what the child within us and our children can express and embrace. The lesson is this: if we want to come to understanding, we have to take the time to share. We really have to move past the place where we think we have the answers. We think we know what it is to be a witch. We have to be willing to surrender with childlike innocence to that place where we are curious, where we recognize that we don't have all of the answers, and we can seek from that place of just wanting to learn and understand and know. That's what I experienced with my family and my grandchildren. What is it that you really do? What is it that we really believe? And then, if we want to be in that place where we are understood and accepted, we have to come to a clarity ourselves of who we are at our core, what we believe, and how we're going to express in the world. So the inquiry comes with the innocence of a child. That place that we're standing in as one who's being asked these questions must come from a place of certainly openness, but also clarity. Again, about who do I believe I am? What are my foundational beliefs? Can I identify them? Is what I say I believe made manifest in the world? I very many times had the experience, since my book has gone into print, have people say a number of things to me, but they're always along the same line. Well, witches practice black magic, and I don't want to have anything to do with anything negative. And witches believe in the devil, with Satan. And witches cast spells. There's only a certain number of those things that actually has any core truth in it. I will say this. My spiritual practice is Wicca. And as I was graciously asked, what form of Wicca do you practice? Therein is a key. To be a witch could mean many, many different things. The word was originally, I believe, a derogatory term that was overlaid upon the people of the ancient times who practiced a oneness, a sovereignty with nature, with the elements of nature, with a recognition that there was a god and a goddess that was tied to the land that lived and breathed through us. And in a way to separate, there was this label created that was a witch. Today, my purpose in using that word with frequency is to do something that is magical, and that is to transform or transmute energy. And that is very much what a witch or a magician is at the core all about. Because words are energy, and I think that given the field of energy we have here, that would be something that would be a shared common thought. Words have energy. There is a vibration associated. They are thought forms that live out there. And whenever we use a word in a particular context, with a particular thought associated with it, we amplify the energy of that. And so whenever I speak of witch, I'm speaking of that which I love and hold dear and true, that which I believe is sacred, integration, of God and Goddess, a being who walks in oneness with the elements of nature, air, fire, water, earth, and spirit, that which we are all made of. And so whenever I have that opportunity to respond to someone who says, oh, I'm a witch, or you're a witch, I don't do dark energy, it's a great opportunity to have a conversation where what I believe and express can help inform, as long as I'm clear about who and what I am, that other being. A great example is the artwork that you see here is typical of the artwork that I've done for many years. And I was asked a few years ago to do an installation at a very large healing center in the West Valley. And I hung about 40 pieces of art and very many different aspects of sacred geometry. And the day after the exhibit was hung, I got a call from the woman who had coordinated the whole exhibit, and she said, they took down a piece of your art. It was the one that had the 5-pointed star in it. It offended someone, and they said that it was a satanic symbol. We love your art, but please just don't bring anything else that has the 5-pointed star in it. It was a great opportunity for me then to have the conversation, to say, all right, what's the resistance here? What does that 5-pointed star mean to the folks who were offended by it? And it enabled the woman and I to have a conversation heart to heart about what that symbol meant to me energetically. You know, the reality or the truth is that it is a very old sacred symbol that has appeared in many different cultures. And then I have to look at it from the humorous standpoint and say, well, if they don't want to have any 5-pointed stars, they best make sure there are no American flags hanging. Probably no police officers should come in. No one from the great state of Texas, because those are all associations. And in its origin, in probably every one of those cases, there is an alignment with the core sacred energy of what that geometry really means. And so she and I had a wonderful conversation, and she was able then to go back to a staff meeting, and they had a lengthy dialogue back and forth about what that symbol really represented. And in the end, the piece of art was rehung, and my art hung there for probably 2 years. So magic happens. I'd like to focus again a little bit more on, for the next few minutes, magical moments, because as I speak as a witch, what I really at my heart identify myself as is a priestess of the goddess and a magician. And again, when people think of magic, they think of dark and light magic, or black magic and white magic. And in my world, it is magic. I hold a belief in reincarnation. And so as I am focused on a particular way of expressing and being in this lifetime, and I might identify that as being a light worker or someone who stands for good, I would believe for myself that I've gone through lifetimes where that has not been the case. And it is through our darkness, it is through our challenges that we learn and we grow. And so fundamental to my belief is that I've been a dark magician. And that more clearly for me today, what that means is at any moment when I am expressing in the world, and I do believe that every moment is magical. It is of my creation. At any moment when I am not grounded, when I am not centered within my being, aligned with that highest source, with the elements of air, fire, water, earth, close at hand, not for my calling, but for my alignment with. In those moments when I'm not in that place, I am not creating my highest magic. I am not connecting with the highest vibration and potential that is available. And so we might say that it's all about intention. I would say much of what we do is about intention, but it is also about how we construct within ourselves, within and without, above and below, the energy associated with that intention. For me as a witch, the tools that I use are the elements. And I had a great example this morning of what this was going to look like for me. So my beloved and I, we love fires. And so last night as we were sitting in the backyard drinking our coffee, it was cool, and we had a beautiful fire, which we enjoyed tremendously. But I also know very much that when my love and I have had a fire in the backyard, because of the way he builds that fire, when I rise in the morning, the embers are still glowing. And we even joked, he says, I went to bed before he did, and he said, I imagine this will still be ready for you when you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And absolutely, as I rose and I went to the backyard, the embers were still there. The glow of the fire was still there in partnership with the wood, the earth. And so all it took to bring that to flame again was a few more pieces of just rightly dried kindling, the fire, and breath. And so when I think about being in that place where I'm aligned and where I am able to express that highest connection elementally, that's really how I see it. The fire is there, the earth is there, the breath is there, the right amount of water is there. And at hand, I'm able to draw that energy, amplify it, and use that as part of my expression in my magical process. I also know that with any of those elements, I can be out of balance. I can have too much of one or the other. And in my engineering world, I very often have opportunities to live that firsthand and experience it. So for me, I associate passion with the element of fire. That's the spirit. And one of the things that I've reconciled myself to is that I still have lessons to learn about the difference between working with the fire element and the water element in regard to emotion. So this is my explanation. Dialogue is fueled by passion. Argument is fed by fear and anger. And so again, elementally, I have to be aware when I'm in conversation, when I may be feeling just really passionate about something, but if I'm not paying attention to that other person and where they are in their presence, I very often go to the point where I have transformed the energy of the moment from something that is passionate to something that is argumentative. And so at the foundation, the elements are the tools that I use to be able to not only create magic for myself within my being, but then also to pay attention to the magic of communication that happens with every other person who I come in contact with. I have a quick magical story to tell you, and it really is about the moment that set me on the path of being a responsible magician. Back in 1996, I was well on my way to moving away from traditional religion and really finding who I was. I had started, I didn't do any artwork for 25 years. I graduated from high school and I went into engineering. After being told that my art stunk in an art class, I walked out and never went back, got into engineering, drafting, and design. And in 1996, I was having a number of very mystical experiences. There really was no other way to describe it, as profoundly mystical experiences. And at that time, I was, definitely an adult woman. I had not seen my father since I was 3.5 years old. My parents had been divorced when I was very young. And all through my adult life, I had looked for him. And one of the things that I had done was contacted U.S. Search, and some of you may know what that organization is, but it helps people find other people. And I had gotten a list from U.S. Search of every D. Ballentine, or David Ballentine, in the country, and it was 3.5 typed pages long. And at the time that I got it, I decided this is too much for me, I can't sort through all of this. But there was that moment when I just knew that I was on the edge of the path. And so I took out the 3 typed pages, and they were single-spaced, and laid them out, and I picked one telephone number. And I dialed the number, and a woman answered the phone. And it was early in the morning. It was June 19th, 1996. Woman answers the phone, and I said, "Hello, is David Ballentine there?" And she said, "My son's name is David. Why are you calling?" And I thought to myself, I remember my grandma when I was 3.5 years old. She was really old then, and I'm pretty sure this is not her. She's probably dead by now. And she said, "Well, why are you looking for him?" And I said, "Well, I'm looking for my father, my birth father. His name is David Ballentine, and he would be in his 60s, and he used to live in Arizona." And she said, "Yes, my son is in his 60s, and he used to live in Arizona." And she said, "Just a moment." She said, "I'll go get him." And as there is the pause on the phone, I'm thinking to myself, this absolutely cannot be happening. I took one phone number out of 3.5 pages, and she came back to the phone, and she asked me where I lived, and we made, conversation, and she had asked me by then what my name was, and I told her I was Patty. And I finally said, "What's your name?" She said, "My name is Cosette." And I said, "I remember when I was 3.5 years old, my grandma Cosette took a brown paper bag and she laid it on the floor. She cut it so it would lay flat on the floor. And she had me lay down on it, and she took a crayon so she could draw an outline of me so that the next time she saw me, she could tell how much I had grown." With that, she said, "Yes, dear, here's my son." And my dad came to the phone, and it was the first time we had talked for close to 40 years. And at the end of the conversation, he said, "My oh my, this is quite a gift. My birthday is tomorrow." The magic of the moment is recognizing, yes, the sweetness, the emotion of what transpired in that moment, but then also what was going to transpire in the future. It was really recognizing the responsibility of the co-creative process where, with whatever this divine presence was, in partnership with me in that moment, magic happened. I took that as a symbol of how profoundly important the responsibility is of being that magician in the world. And more than anything else, that set me on a course of study. A course of being able to go from, wow, that was a really interesting thing that happened, and that was synchronistic, and that was magical, to how did I co-create that? Where was I aligned in myself? How did I put myself in posture or position to be connected with the higher realms in that way? And to this day, that would be what I think I hold on to as my kind of core identification of being a witch. The women and men, and yes, primarily women, that I know and call witch sisters, all very much resonate with that idea that there is a responsibility that comes with the magical arts and the magical practices. And that we seek knowledge. We seek understanding. We dare to take a risk. We utilize the will of spirit. We know what is right and true. And yes, last, we also know when to pause, because those four aspects, again, are very important in the magical process. And so, two things I'd like to close with. And thank you for holding space to me. This has been kind of a stream of consciousness sort of expression. One of the things that Juanita mentioned when we were doing our recording at the Melting Heart Boutique was a connection to the words that, just as you have here your tenets, your professions of the things that you believe, many of us in Wicca also have a creed or a reed. And this really identifies what it is that is so true for me. Thus, these are the words. Bide the Wiccan reed ye must, in perfect love and perfect trust. 8 words the Wiccan reed fulfill, and harm ye none, do as ye will. Ever mind the rule of 3, what ye send out comes back to thee. Follow this with